Good evening, folks, and welcome to the live stream. Hope you're all very well this evening. Hope you had a nice weekend and you're ready for some more crazy stuff this week. So, what are we going to cover tonight? Well, of course, we're going to talk about unemployment. Unemployment is up, especially young people. Reform have laid out their shadow cabinet, if you can call it a shadow cabinet. Rupert Lowell's party has reached 50,000 subscribers. I'm not sure I would call them subscribers, but it's a bit like Reform UK claiming that they have 50,000 members. It seems that some people all over the world can subscribe to Rupert Lowell's new party. And Reform are not expected to win big, according to James O'Brien. So we'll cover that story as well. Did anyone see the slug and the lettuce? Yes, I did. An image of Donald Trump and Liz Truss. Liz Truss is, of course, in the US to suck up to Donald Trump. She shook his hand, a bit like the way she shook the Queen's hand some years ago. So, I don't know. I'm not sure what's going to come of that. Anyone think he bears something of a resemblance to Carl Pilkington? Yes, I know. People have said this before. Okay, I look like Carl Pilkington. Was it The Idiot Abroad? So maybe it suits me down to the ground. The Idiot Abroad. If you ever if you take a photograph of yourself and put it into AI and ask AI to ask them if you look like a famous person, I always get back Carl Pilkington, whatever his name is. I don't know if that's a compliment or an insult, but anyway. So let's start off with the first story, which is, of course, unemployment, which is a problem, of course. And as I keep saying, we need to have a plan B because AI is going to reduce employment. Now, it's important to remember that while AI is going to take some jobs, it's also going to empower some people to be more productive. And if people are more productive with AI, it means some businesses may not hire people. They may not fire staff, but they may hold off on hiring new staff. And while their businesses expand, this is a short-term thing. So a lot of people are going to hold on to their jobs because they're training up on AI. They're using AI to help boost their productivity. But when we cross the threshold where the AI is able to do the job better than the worker, then the company will drop the worker. And of course, we need a plan B, as Mandy and Mashu and so many others have mentioned in chat. We need a UBI, universal basic income. But anyway, let's get into this story.
Creeping up, and I'll show you that here. But so this is overall unemployment, and this is the number of people out of the percentage of people out of work who would like to get back into work. And look at where it's kind of going in the last few months and years. It's up to the highest level in 5 years. This chart, that goes back to 2010. So you can see kind of, that period there, post-financial crisis came up. There you've got the pandemic, and then you've got the highest in 5 years. That's overall unemployment, so across the whole economy. But look specifically at youth unemployment. So that's people, aged 16 to 24 who would like to get into work, okay? And there you can see this red line, which is the same thing. So for young people wanting to get into work, that is the highest in 11 years. Okay, so you've got different experiences across the country. That's 5.2%, but that is significantly higher. And it's even higher still when you look not just at youth unemployment, which is people who would like to get back into work, but at economic inactivity, which is kind of people who have just absolved themselves, or at least rather are not engaged in the economic system, in the labour market. And when you look at youth inactivity, well, I'll show you. Okay, so that's going back to 2010. But if you look at it, same thing, but just going back even further to 1992. So look here, 1992, economic activity amongst young people was 25%. But just look at how that line has gone up and up and up and up, to the extent that now, 2025, it's come down a bit since kind of, the early 2025, but still 39% is where we are at the moment. And this is a concern on top of that overall picture of unemployment, which is you just have a lot of young people who aren't necessarily in the labour market anymore, and that is perhaps of deeper worry.
Because there are no jobs available for young people. Great in politics. Great to see you guys coming over onto the stream. Welcome aboard. Thanks so much for coming on. I get Audrey Hepburn Max. That's much better than what I'm getting, Suzanne. So that's great for you. Graphs Boris, turn the telly off. Yes. If Labour doesn't make young people's lives better, Labour is in real trouble. It's exactly the same narrative that I've been pushing for so long. You want young people to come out and vote for you, but you need to give some. And this is the problem for young people and young voters, is they feel that political parties are not listening to them, so they don't come out and vote. And as they don't come out and vote, political parties generally don't listen to the concerns of young people.
When you compare the UK, though, so back to our overall unemployment, it's 5.2%, but just when you're looking at comparable numbers around other countries, it's about 5%. This is showing you the UK versus other G7 economies, so Japan, Germany, the US, Italy, Canada, France, and there we are, middle of the pack. So it doesn't look all that bad, does it? But now if we look at the same thing, so comparing the UK with other countries around the world, but looking at the rate at which that has changed in the last year, have a look at this. This is the rate of change in the last year. The UK is up by 0.7 percentage points, whereas everyone else is kind of not rising as fast. So again, put all of that together, and you can see why maybe some people, including the Bank of England, we'll come to that in a second, might be a little bit concerned about it. And then on top of it, this is showing you redundancies. And the reason this chart is kind of helpful is you can probably spot the pandemic, can't you? That's the pandemic there. But also what you can see is that line is kind of starting to come up. And if we kind of just, again, draw the line back and go back as far as you can to the highest rate, except for the pandemic, redundancy is also the highest rate since 2012. And by the way, if you look at, for instance, internet searches for redundancy, it's quite useful to kind of double check these numbers because there are some question marks over how reliable they are. But that's kind of in line with that. It might be coming down a bit. But nonetheless, put it all together and you can see why a lot of people, including the Bank of England, are looking at this and they're saying, well, it might well be that interest rates have to come down. Right now, interest rates 3.75%. Okay, so 3 3/4.
Once again, I think I'm on a different wavelength. I think what we're starting to see is a freeze on employment, and we're not just seeing it in the UK, but we're seeing it in Europe as well. And I think we're going to start to see businesses move away from hiring young people. We're starting to see we're at the beginning of this AI revolution, and we're going to see young people not being hired, and then young people not being able to build a career, and then not being able to retire later on. So we need an alternative. We need a plan B, and we're hearing nothing about a plan B. And I don't know if you guys are seeing it from time to time, but I keep getting recommended videos on YouTube about how jobs are going as a result of AI. The technology is getting to a level where it's able to, it's not just facilitating employment, it's actually replacing the work that some people do. Now, people are not being laid off because companies still need staff. They need to hold on to these workers. But we're getting to a stage, perhaps by the end of the year, say the acronym Max, Universal Basic Income. We're getting to by the end of this year, we will see a technology that is able to do a lot of the jobs that we have in the economy. And it's going to do the jobs better than people are doing it. And companies are not going to continue to hire people at that rate. They're not going to, and I don't think we're going to see mass layoffs, not yet anyway, but we are going to see a pay freeze. What's that when it's at home, Max? Universal basic income is a basic income to stop people from falling into poverty. And maybe we would actually need to have something else. We'd need to have universal basic services. So the state would provide people with everything that they need to live. So not just money, because in a situation where if we have abundance as a result of technologies, money may not be all that important. It's more important that people are able to get access to food, to basic necessities. And the cost of these basic necessities would come down. So, for example, when it comes to food, if we're able to produce food at almost the cost of zero, because we have machines doing all of the work, doing all of the logistics, all of the transportation, all of this work is done. Every part of the supply chain, the production is done by robots or AI, then the cost is pretty much zero. So we may move away from a situation, having money. We could move into a sort of Star Trek type society where money is no longer useful. We just provide people with the services and the materials they need. We already have something like a UBI. It's called a pension. The state pension, the old age pension, is a bit like a UBI. It's available for everyone over a certain age, but a UBI would just be extended to everyone, and it would not be means tested. Whenever the issue of a UBI is brought up, people begin with why would we give it to rich people? If we start means testing it, it undermines its value. Look, rich people wouldn't need the money, but they could give it away to charity, or they could give it away to or they could just spend it on coffees and stuff. But it's important that everyone is lifted everyone has this minimum floor that they don't fall below. Do you think Adrian Ramsey will sell his second home? I probably will. Call centers are closing as AI is doing customer service jobs. Yes. I don't know if anyone has interacted with a bank recently. They have chatbots, and you just write your question to the chatbot and it responds. Thanks, David. And you're right. Call center. This is one of the first places that in a way, it's better to have an AI as a call center, because if you call the call center, generally you're going to have somebody who has to reach a target. They have to complete a number of calls every day in order to get paid. So they'll try and be fast on the phone, try and get you off the phone. I worked in a call center. It was an internal call center for a company many, many moons ago. And you had to take a certain number of calls every day. You had to close calls off within a certain amount of time. If you have an AI system, the AI can sit talking to somebody for 24 hours. It's not a problem, because you have multiple agents within the call center. AI agents that can take thousands of calls every hour. So there's no real limit to how much they can take and how much time they can spend on the phone with people. And people tend to have a better relationship with AI systems than with people because of the patience. They're able to talk for a longer time. They're able to explain their question. They're able to get a better explanation back. There's no pressure from the AI or on the AI. So the experience people have with an AI customer service system is generally better. It's better than the ones from the first incarnation of these things which were terrible. They were just like, press 1 for this and then press 2 for that. People didn't like that, of course. It was inhuman. But the new systems are much better in many ways than humans, for the reasons I gave before. I had a spam call today from an AI. Oh my goodness. Well, that's the other side of the coin, unfortunately. I get a lot of calls. If I don't know the number, I just don't answer. I don't even block it. I just don't answer because I'm afraid that they may register the number or something. And we have to be very careful about that as well, because if they can get access to your voice, they can replicate your voice and use it against you. Imagine your relatives being called up by someone that sounds like you saying, "Hey, can you give me some money? Send it to this bank account." I'm listening, Max, but I can't stay in chat. No worries, Sax. Thanks for coming on, and hope make sure to listen in anyway. Don't worry about that. Problem with that, Max, is I don't normally disagree with you, but the AI system for welfare and means unless you answer in the right way, the computer says no. No, this is the big problem with AI is it's a double-edged sword. It can be used to great effect in a positive way, but it can also be used to a terrible effect. And there are issues about biases built into these AI systems, which, as you said, if you say the wrong thing, you can be rejected, you can be denied support from the state. And this can have serious consequences on people's lives, of course. And the other point as well, if there's no one to go to explain, wait a minute, I want a proper answer, or there's no one you can reach out to have just a normal human conversation with and explain your situation to. So this, yes, is a massive problem. And I hope the politicians, the people in charge at the DWP, are taking this on board. They're just not outsourcing all of this to an AI and to, to hell with the consequences. Possible sanctions if you ignore. Jesus. AI is deeply flawed. I used ChatGPT a lot, and sometimes it's so stupid to understand what I wanted to do. I literally swore at it, and it's not even human. I have noticed a lot of they call them hallucinations, mistakes in the AI systems where, I'd ask it a question and it start talking about something completely different, and I'd be like, what? What's that all about? So, like for me, the use I have is not critical, but if you have to rely on it for something that impacts your life, that's really concerning. And what I would suggest to people is try and get whatever information you can, whatever mistakes are made by the DWP, or if you have records, take screenshots, build a file of these things and send it to your MP and tell your MP or find a way to send it to the DWP and say, look, this thing is broken, it's not working right, and you need to fix it. I think they'll be more likely to act if they can see examples as well. If you're able to get examples, that would be something, I think. Maybe send it anonymously if you're concerned that it may affect your case as well, so be careful with that. I can see an anti-AI populism movement taking off in future, promoting physical jobs and banning data centers, fronted by Jacob Rees-Mogg, perhaps. Back to the penny farthing. Well said, Brad. Thanks for that. Back to the horse and buggy. Yes, we don't need these automobile contraptions. We should go back to things were the way they were before. I don't know if you Brad, you've probably seen it yourself. I think I commented on one of Jacob Rees-Mogg's videos from time back. It was like he was filming from a museum or he was filming from the Victorian period. His house is like something from a Victorian period. He is creepy. Anyway, guys, let's move on. The government are in a bit of trouble now because of, something. So I actually ended up with a bit of egg on my face over this as well. So what's happened? The government have decided to U-turn on a plan to stop some councils or allow some councils not to hold elections in May. Why? Well, the idea was, and this is a position I actually defended, maybe it made me look like a fool, but I still think I'm in the right here. The government has said that because certain councils were merging, because some councils were disappearing, it was not necessary for councils to hold these elections. And what happened? Well, Reform UK took the government to court, and the government ended up pulling out and paying Reform UK legal costs. And now the government is going to spend £65 million. They're going to give £65 million to councils to hold elections, which are, in a sense, a bit pointless.
I want to talk to you now about the decision that we heard yesterday to reinstate these local elections. Tell us about the difference in the legal advice that you got yesterday from previously that led you to this decision.
Yeah, so we've come forward with legislation which is all about making local...
No, there was no difference in the legislation or in the legal advice. The legal advice was the same. The government did this for political reasons. There was no change in the legal advice. They realized this is going to be a problem, so they decided to U-turn. It's as simple as that.
Government work more effectively. There are too many tiers and layers of local government. It leads to residents getting confused. It leads to duplication. So you have two chief executives, two finance directors. It's just not a good use of public funds. That is the reform that we want to push forward. We consulted with the 63 most affected by the reforms we were pushing forward to ask them whether it was going to be possible for them to both do the reorganisation and to hold local government elections, and 30 of those came back to us and said they were really going to struggle with being able to do that. Of those 30, by the way, some were controlled by the Tories, some by the Lib Dems, some by the Greens, and others. So we listened
Labour.
to that.
21 controlled by Labour.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So it's a mixture of all parties.
Now, Stephen, 21 of the 30 councils were Labour councils. Okay, just own it. Okay, once again, this is Reform scored a massive victory here, but I think it'll be short-lived. Most people don't care about these council elections. Honestly, most people don't care. If the election takes place, they'll vote. If the election doesn't take place, they won't. And most people don't actually vote in local elections. The turnout is normally really, really low. It's in some cases, it's half of the general election turnout.
Labour, but carry on.
Yeah. You're right. The majority being Labour, but a mixture of councils in terms of their politics. And we listened to that, and we said, well, it's not really fair to force you to go forward with elections and a reorganisation at the same time. And by the way, that could lead to elections in May 2026 and then elections again in May 2027, and kind of a zombie council between those two.
We've heard the argument. Sorry, Mr. Kinnock, with all due respect, we know the argument. I'm asking you why you changed your mind at the last minute, seemingly yesterday. For
political reasons. Because there was a risk that Reform UK would be successful in I think it was the High Court, and the High Court would say you actually have to hold these elections. Now, once again, the government were probably right not to hold these elections or to allow councils to cancel these elections. You can see here, somebody had posted this. Stephen says, some local elections were postponed between 2019 and 2022 to facilitate council reorganisation. The impact of the legal advice. House of Lords, date for the 3rd of February 2026 is currently being processed. Data, okay, hold on, it goes on to say, okay, well, that's the legislation, that's the legal advice. It was the councils who asked for the postponement, not the UK government. So the councils were asking for this, and it's clear that the councils were saying, look, we need more time, and what's the point in holding elections that we have to spend money on when the election will take place the year after? So the councillors who will be elected in 2026 will be just spinning their wheels for 12 months because everything will change the year after. So what's the point in wasting this money when we could spend the money on something that's more important? But it's become a political issue instead.
Well, there was legal advice. What
was the difference in the legal advice you got then versus previously? Because you must have got legal advice before.
Yes. So I'm a minister in the Department for Health and Social Care. I'm not a minister in the Ministry for Housing.
Okay. So there was no change in the legal advice. We did it for political reasons. Okay. Just be honest about it. Look, we thought we were doing the right thing. Reform UK decided to turn it into a political football, and they won this match. Are the people in these constituencies better off? No. Is Reform UK better off? Is democracy better off? No. Is there any real change going to take place? No, because we're still going ahead with the changes. So it's pointless exercise. They're weak, so not wanting pressure by reform. It's this fear of, and this sets a precedent, because now Farage can say, hey, we have the Labour government who have a majority over a barrel. Now, I don't know what would have happened if they had stuck to their guns, but I don't know. It's sad in a way, because the government were right. They were right in what they were doing. But they felt pressure from reform. They believed that they may lose the case, and jumped beforehand to avoid the embarrassment. So they took a certain amount of embarrassment to avoid a bigger embarrassment when there shouldn't have been any embarrassment whatsoever. I think when it comes to people like Nigel Farage and reform, you need to face them down. So this and explain why you're doing this. You hardly ever hear an explanation. It's like, oh yeah, well, we're doing changes in councils and stuff. Just come out and say it frankly. What is the point in wasting money in these councils if these councils are going to be closed down? Nigel Farage and Reform want to have these elections. Okay, but if we have these elections, there's going to be a cost. You're not going to have your potholes filled. We're going to have to cut back on bin collections. Are people happy with that? You can have your election or you can have your bins collected. Which do you want? And the election will take place, but you're not going to have your bins collected, and the councillor is going to have another election the year after. Why doesn't Labour just come out and explain it like that? Surely they have somebody in the Cabinet Office, somebody in number 10, who can come out and explain things in a very simple way. But instead they do this sort of weird dance and try and avoid talking about it or try and avoid the question. It just makes them look dodgy, when in reality the problem is here, it's not about them being dodgy. It's not like the Conservatives, and I'm not here to defend Labour, okay? I'm trying to be as impartial as possible, but when I see something like this, I understand what they were trying to do. They were trying to avoid the problems of having an election this year and another one next year. They were allowing the councils to decide, and Reform UK turned it into a situation where the government were acting like a dictatorship. It's so ironic because Nigel Farage is a huge admirer of people like Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump. Labour will be accused of wasting money. They'll be accused of wasting money now as well, because this money will be handed to Reform UK. Taxpayer money going to Reform UK for nothing. And they're now spending £65 million on these elections. So the councils have now received this money to hold these elections, which are completely pointless in many cases. They explain via word salad. Yes, it generally is the case. My goodness. It's in a sense depressing because they could be trying to do something well, and unfortunately this happens. Anyway, let's move on to our next story. The next story is so Nigel Farage has appointed his shadow cabinet, if you can call it that. And two people who've reached the top of the shadow cabinet are, of course, Suella Braverman and Robert Jenrick. It's a bit... I actually feel sorry, just a little bit. I feel a little bit sorry for Lee Anderson. Lee Anderson was the first to defect, or, well, not defect because he was an independent for a little bit, but the first to join Reform as an MP. Remember, there was a day when the only Reform MP was Lee Anderson. That was before Nigel Farage was elected. Lee Anderson was the only Reform UK MP. And what is he doing now? He doesn't even have a position in the shadow cabinet, as far as I've seen. And he certainly doesn't have a senior position. It seems to be Robert Jenrick and Suella Braverman who like jumped at the last minute. They have been rewarded with shadow cabinet positions. Anyway, Braverman says Reform would scrap the Equality Act, but unions say it would be a sledgehammer to hard-won rights. Remember, Reform UK is on the side of ordinary people. The People's Party, the party of the working class, as they keep saying. So it goes on to say, after being announced as Reform UK's education and skills spokesperson, I want to get to that in a moment, Suella Braverman said that the country is being ripped apart by diversity, equality and inclusion policies. Sorry, how is that possible? How is it being ripped apart? She pledged that her last party would repeal the Equality Act 2010, which protects people from discrimination, harassment and victimization, both in the workplace and wider society. Yeah, because that's terrible. Protecting people from harassment, discrimination, victimization, these are terrible things. Reform UK is on the side of discrimination, harassment and victimization because they want to strip away the protections against those things. Arguing against the legislation, Braverman declared that we will build a country defined by meritocracy, not tokenism. Personal responsibility, not victimhood. Excellence, not mediocrity. And unity, not division. This is somebody who wouldn't run in a by-election. Like she was able to hold on to her seat without actually running to defend that seat. Where's the meritocracy there? You know, her position is so strong that she ran away from the voters. The announcement has not been well received by some, in particular trade unions. The General Secretary of the TUC declared that Reform UK think discrimination should be legal. Yes, and scrapping the Equality Act would be a sledgehammer to hard-won rights hard-won rights working people fought for over generations. Paul Newark continued, if you're discriminated against because you're a woman, black, disabled, pregnant or gay, that's fine with them. This is a blank check for bad employers to mistreat their staff. And this is the core point here. Bad employers. Reform UK is on the side of bad employers. When it came to Brexit, you know, there used to be the Brexit Party. They were on the side of, hey, we need to get rid of all these environmental protections and worker protections. You know, I just want to go off on a tangent, just a sort of ranting tangent just for one moment. Maurice Glassman, I don't know if you remember that guy. He was the founder of Blue Labour. Blue Labour is now steering the Labour Party in the direction of the abyss. He was interviewed recently where he talked about Brexit, and he campaigned and supported, and he still supports Brexit, because he believed that if the UK wait to hear this is an honest statement from Maurice Glassman. He said, if we leave the European Union, then we can have a socialist utopia. So Maurice Glassman, who's a friend of Nigel Farage, believes in a socialist utopia, and he believed that if the UK left the European Union, then Britain could have this socialist utopia. And what has happened since then? Well, you had Boris Johnson in charge. Was that a socialist utopia? Then you had Morgan McSweeney and Keir Starmer in charge. Is that a socialist utopia? Well, it's better than Boris Johnson. But what comes next? Well, if Maurice Glassman gets his way, it will be Nigel Farage, his friend. Nigel Farage will be in charge of a socialist utopia. Is Farage the reincarnated of is Farage the reincarnated Mussolini or Hitler? More Mussolini, but it could be both. Thanks, Glasgow Gal, and thanks for the second super chat. Trump is a walking whoopee cushion. Somebody sent me a message the other day saying that he had pooped his pants on live TV. I don't know if that was AI or whether it was real, but hey, you know, we live in a world where either of those are possible. So thanks, Saska. Anyway, back to Suella Braverman. So yeah, this is about undermining protections for workers, tearing up the Equality Act. Why? Because Reform UK is on the side of corrupt businesses. It's not on the side of workers. They voted against legislation that would protect workers. You know, anyone who's a worker voting for Reform UK is the same as a turkey voting for Christmas. That's the reality on the ground. Anyway, let's move on. As we know, there is a by-election taking place in Gorton and Denton, and I wanted to show you this clip where Owen Jones visited the constituency and spoke to some people there.
So, this is historic. I don't just mean me coming back to Stockport, my hometown. We are here for the big by-election, which is going to help determine the future of the country. I know that sounds a bit over the top, but it isn't. Here is...
Look, it's not. It's not going to determine the future. So, if Reform UK win the Gorton and Denton by-election, Keir Starmer's not going to go away. If the Green Party win the Gorton and Denton by-election, Keir Starmer's not going to go away. Keir Starmer will likely be removed or pushed out. I think pushed out, not removed. He'll be pushed out after the May elections. But this could be a sign of how the May elections go. Now, I want to make a prediction. I shouldn't really do this, but my gut is telling me that Labour will actually hold on to this constituency in Gorton and Denton. I don't know why, but my gut is telling me that. My brain is telling me, if it's any use at all, my brain is telling me that it'll be close between Reform and the Greens. I really hope the Greens win it, but I have this terrible feeling that Reform will win it. I hope I'm wrong. I think the reason why they could win it is because they're throwing everything at it. They have a huge machine. They have a huge amount of money. A lot of dirty money, of course, is in Reform. And I have a feeling that I have this horrible feeling that, and I hope I'm wrong. I really do. I really hope I'm wrong, but I have a horrible feeling that Reform will win it. And once again, I hope I'm wrong, but my prediction, Reform UK. Yeah. Although my gut is telling me Labour will hold on to it for some reason. So there's that.
There's a Labour seat we're going to, Gorton and Denton. Labour won 50% of the vote last time. This time, the Green Party and Reform are looking to take the seat. If Labour lose, that could be the end of Keir Starmer, and it could cement the Greens as the alternative. They could replace Labour in the urban seats. They won't be able to say, vote for us or you get Nigel Farage, or it could bolster Reform's onward march to power. We're going to meet Ali Fogg, local campaigner. He's going to take us around the constituency. I'm excited. So, when you're knocking on doors, what are you finding?
The main thing is that nobody is voting Labour. It's become almost impossible to find a Labour voter anywhere. When we're out in Denton, we're finding more Reform voters. So
Denton is leaning more Reform, while Clacton. Gorton is, it seems, leaning more to the Labour Party.
But not uniformly so. There's quite a lot of Green. The occasional old Tory or Lib Dem or whatever you bump into, but not many. But by and large, people are either saying, nope, giving up in politics altogether, won't be voting, or they're voting Reform, or they're voting Green. People are very glad to have the opportunity to give the political establishment a bit of a kicking, I think. And I think they're going to take it.
What do you think of Keir Starmer?
He's an idiot, if you ask me.
He's an uninspiring and lying man, in my opinion.
Well, I really like Keir Starmer.
Okay, first of all, I don't know why they keep asking about Keir Starmer, because Keir Starmer's not on the ballot, okay? In the same way as Nigel Farage is not on the ballot. So it should be whether you support Labour or not. Now, Owen interviewed a Labour campaigner, and it didn't go very well.
Voted for him, actually.
Yeah. Why Labour for you?
Well, I mean, I've been a Labour supporter since I was probably about 7 years old. I've been out delivering leaflets for a long, long time. Labour values are my total values.
What are Labour values?
Labour values, it's equality, fairness. It's just...
Yeah.
Stop that now.
What? What's up?
Just stop it a minute and then...
Okay.
I knew that was coming. No, it's all right. I knew that were going to ring.
Oh, you're going to ring? Oh, I see.
Buzzing,
I see. Sorry.
So sorry about that.
I was wondering what was going on there. Sorry. What are Labour values?
So Labour values. Labour, we're all about fairness, all about equality. Everybody deserves a good start in life. Obviously, we're very supportive of these free breakfast clubs because... children need a really good start in life and they need good education.
What policies do you think promote equality that Labour are doing?
That's a good question. There's plenty of those, isn't there? But
just give me a couple. Equality.
Equality. Well, equality, women, for example. Let's be fair. I mean, women.
But what policies?
Just stop it again.
Okay. It's all right.
It's all right. I'm really sorry about this.
Don't worry.
You just have to let me think about these things because I'm not very good on the hook.
It's all right. You're great. You're doing great.
I'll just tell them not to ring me again. Right, let me just think about policies because I don't...
Okay, we'll change that. Honestly, we'll talk about something else. What's the reception on the doorstep?
Well, I haven't personally been on the doorstep. It's the first time we've come over from Bradford today, so we're out delivering some target letters to people. So, but from what I'm understanding is it's very positive. We're getting some really good support from a lot of people from right across the constituency. We've got an absolutely amazing candidate. I'm hoping to meet her today.
If Labour loses here, Is that it for Keir Starmer, do you think?
No.
This is supposed to be a campaigner, and she doesn't know the policies.
He'd carry on.
I think so, yeah.
It's just 50% voted Labour last time. That's a bad...
I know, well, it's a very, very strong Labour hold here, isn't it? But there's no point in just saying now, oh, well, if we lose this today, Keir Starmer's gone, because that's just silly.
Fair enough, yeah.
We don't really want to start changing leaders right at this moment in time. But fingers crossed we'll win it anyway.
All right, we'll see.
It's just like, fingers crossed we'll win it. You're supposed to be convincing people to vote for your party. You're supposed to know the policies. How is it possible that you're out there campaigning for a party and you don't know the policies? Oh my goodness. Maybe I should change my feeling about whether Labour will hold on to that seat. Suella wants no Equalities Act. Does she want to be discriminated and harassed first? Yes. This is the thing. Does Suella Braverman not understand the value of these? Of course she does, but she thinks that she's in a privileged position where she can just rant and rave about how, ethnic minorities, we need to punish those people. Yeah, you're an ethnic minority as well, but because you're in Reform UK, because you're in a right-wing party, you think you'll be okay. I honestly don't understand these people at all. Some people say it's like pulling up the ladder. My family immigrated, but now we need to stop immigration. Thanks, Glasgow Gal. Ninja, thank you so much for that super chat. Can the media stop calling them his top team? It's a joke. They are the people that destroyed this country. It's a joke that the media stop phoning. Can the media stop phoning Farage? The media love Farage. This is the problem. The media want to see, and I keep saying this, and maybe it's a conspiracy theory, but I'm convinced that the media want to see Nigel Farage become Prime Minister. They would love it. They don't care about the consequences. Most of these people in the media, they're pretty privileged. They have, £400,000 or £500,000 salaries per £100,000 a year salary. So they're okay. So if Nigel Farage becomes Prime Minister and cuts public services, they won't be affected. But they love the idea because it's entertaining. These are the same people who are cheering on Boris Johnson. These are the same people in the US who are cheering on Donald Trump. He's going to shake up the system. He's going to ruffle a few feathers. He's going to be a bull in a china shop. They loved it because every time he did something, it would drive traffic to their websites. It would be something that they could talk about in a controversial way. And Farage is gold to the media. That's why they want to see him in power. That's my honest opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But they want to see him in because he's entertaining. He's good for... Keir Starmer is terrible. Let me be honest with you guys. If I put up a video about Keir Starmer, it tanks. If I put up a video about Nigel Farage, it does pretty well. Now, I'm not putting up videos about Nigel Farage in order to do well, because Nigel Farage says stuff and I think it's important to call him out. I've been calling out Nigel Farage since 2016, since this channel has been up. Okay, for anyone who doesn't believe me, look at all the stuff that I've been calling out Farage on. But the media are not interested. If Farage holds a press conference, the media is all there. Keir Starmer holds a press conference, hardly anyone turns up. People are forced to go there. Revenue is content, yes. And Farage is great for the media. It's a symbiotic relationship. Farage loves using the media to promote his message. Remember when it came to Brexit, he was on Newsnight pretty much more than anyone else. And he understood the media love people like him, so he's able to manipulate them. Something I admired about Princess Diana was she did something similar, but in a more positive way. She used the media to promote her charities, the organizations that she supported. So she manipulated the media. Oh, look, I'm going to issue a press conference, or I'm going to wear a new dress, and they would all turn up to take photos of it. And then she would start promoting a charity that she was supporting. So she would get the message out for them, and she would manipulate the media in that way. And that was a good thing. Farage is doing it for obviously terrible reasons.
When people say that they can't vote Labour, that's it. What are the kind of main reasons why? What are people saying?
It's a really kind of deep, passionate, almost irrational loathing that they now have. Maybe not irrational, but it's emotional rather than reasoned. People,
and that's very difficult to get away from. Because if somebody is angry with the government because they have failed to do something, then the government can fix that by doing it. But if it's an emotional anger, maybe it's more difficult to deal with, because you have to speak to people who are angry with you. And it's difficult to speak with people who are angry with you. It's easier to speak with somebody who's disappointed, because then you can explain, or you can try and convince them by promising something different. But if people are angry,
really hate Keir Starmer. They hate what's going on. It is a gut thing. It's absolutely a gut thing. And people's guts are saying we will never vote Labour again. And that's a phrase we're hearing a lot.
We won't be Labour anyway.
Did you vote for them last time, or?
Yeah, I've always voted.
Always vote Labour?
Yeah, we won't be this time.
What's made you think that's enough for me?
The Chancellor.
Rachel Reeves?
Yeah, she don't like by the sound of it, pensioners.
Yeah.
She's always doing something against pensioners.
Because of the winter fuel.
Morgan fucking McSweeney. It's your fault. Morgan McSweeney's fault. He thought it'd be a good idea to go down this road of changing the pushing MPs in the direction of supporting these changes to the winter fuel allowance. Morgan McSweeney is responsible for. And where is Morgan McSweeney now? He's gone. This is part of the problem. The people in Blue Labour who believed, we need to be tough on pensioners, we need to be tough on immigrants, we need to be tough on people on benefits, and now Starmer and MPs are suffering the consequences. These people Blue Labour should be a prescribed organisation, honestly.
Allowance, which they...
Well, there was that. Now we should have had a 4% rise, and she's given us 2% rise. So we just don't like Labour anymore.
Who do you think then you might go to?
It's going to be maybe the Green Party.
Yeah.
Reform.
What makes you vote for Reform?
Change needed, short and simple. Yeah.
Who did you vote for last time?
We need to vote for reform. We need change. So what we need to do is we need to put the people who crashed the economy back in place. We need to put the people who ran public services into the ground. We need to put those people back in charge. That's the way to fix, the arsonists who burnt down the forest, who burnt down the house. We need to put those people back in charge of fire safety.
I've always voted Labour previously.
Really?
Always, yeah.
What is it for you? That's it for me.
Lack of leadership.
I am very, very split at this point. Obviously, I've always voted Labour, but I got a feeling I'm literally it's down to the line. Whoever I feel on the day has got more chance of stopping the Reform candidate. That's who I'm going to vote for. Traditional Labour area. Why would you vote Reform? I mean, nothing's going to change. All we're going to get is we're going to get like a right-wing candidate, a Tory. It's a home for ex-Tories now, isn't it, the Reform Party?
Because a lot of those people, they'd never vote for the Tories, but now...
Yeah, it's because it's they're not even asking. It's like, what about the NHS? What about transport? Or, unemployed? Blah, blah, blah. It's just immigrants, and it's
exactly. That's all Reform UK are. That's all Matt Goodwin has been talking about. Immigration, closing these open borders. That's all he's talking about. He hasn't mentioned anything about the NHS. He hasn't talked about housing. He doesn't give a crap about those things. And he's not going to get better if he becomes an MP. That's the thing that people in Gorton and Denton need to realise. Matt Goodwin doesn't give a shit about you, and he's certainly not going to give a shit about you if you vote for him, because then he's going to realise, my message of just talking about immigration has worked, so why would I change my message? Starmer's Labour is not Labour. Labour have been red Tories since Tony Blair's New Labour project. That's something that... Maurice Glassman was complaining about as well, ironically. But Maurice Glassman is somebody who is very critical of New Labour because he saw it as appealing too much to the business class. And he, for some reason, who's a friend of Nigel Farage, thinks the opposite is... I really don't understand Blue Labour. I don't understand what they hope to achieve. But I think New Labour is dead at this stage. If there's anything left of it, I think it died with Peter Mandelson. Thanks, David. Brad, once again, thank you so much, Brad. When Farage carks it, all the news articles were shut down for 3 weeks while the reporters take bereavement leave. They'll have to sell their homes and be like, hey, I remortgaged my home because I don't Nigel Farage is going to be Prime Minister. Thanks, Brad.
It's just like, it's a lie. Do you know what I mean? I don't think we actually have any asylum seeker hostels or anything in Tameside. It doesn't really affect us. It's just being reform frightens you, blames them, and then that's it. That's their stick.
Reform.
Why are you voting for reform?
Because hopefully they'll do what they said they're going to do, and that's all I'm saying.
Do you know what?
So I'm going to vote for the new Tory party because they promised to do what they didn't do before. Okay.
They will do.
I know what I want them to do, but I'm not going to say.
Why not? Give us a clue.
No.
Come on. Little clue.
I know what. It's like, yeah, I'm a racist, but I don't want to say I'm racist. Is that it?
To do with boats.
Right, what do you think they'll do to the boats?
I'm not telling you.
Okay, you're right.
Britain seems too full with immigrants at the moment, and there's not enough houses. I've got 3 sons who can't even get on the housing list at the moment.
See, and this is part of the problem, is Farage will come out and say, hey, there are too many immigrants. You can't access housing. 1 and 1 makes 2. The problem is immigration. So if we bring down immigration, people believe that, well, this, of course, will result in more housing. And people will not be on housing lists anymore. We'll be able to eliminate the housing list. And this is very attractive to people who are obviously struggling to get on the housing list, to get access to housing. The problem is not the immigrants. The problem is the councils are not building enough houses. And a lot of the houses that are being built are, of course, not going to people who need them. Like, there is an MP in the House of Commons who has 40 houses. 40! Does he need 40 houses? No, he doesn't need 40 houses. But there's an MP in the House of Commons who has 40 houses. So if you build more houses, you have to make sure that the houses are available to ordinary people. Not, we build 40 houses and then give them all to one guy. It can't be like that. And that's nothing to do with immigration.
Moment, they seem to get top priority before us.
But don't you think it's because the government won't build enough housing? Isn't that the main problem?
Everywhere you look in Manchester now, there's houses getting built. They're throwing up.
But Nigel told me that they all go to immigrants, so I believe Nigel. I'm not actually going to do any research myself. I said before, I'm somewhat of the idea that maybe there should be some sort of civic test in order to vote. The people need to pass some sort of test to understand how government operates, the issues that are being talked about, to have at least a basic understanding of how local government operates, how national governments operate, how parliament operates, how people are elected to parliament, what the government does, what the government doesn't do. Very well informed, but I think and then that allows people like Reform UK
houses, but there's more refugees coming into Manchester than houses being built.
Do you think that's true?
Yeah.
So you don't think it's... I mean, because at the moment, some people might go, well, we're not investing in services, and that's because rich people aren't paying their taxes.
No, it's about the housing also. Doctors' appointments, dental appointments, everything's overrun.
It's like the immigrants and all that.
And of course, what I'm going to do is I'm going to vote for Reform, who will promise to make it better. They won't make...
Disappointments, dental appointments, everything's overrun.
It's like the immigrants and all that. I'm not against. But it's when they're coming over here illegal and, when they're taking jobs and stuff like that.
The immigrants taking our jobs. The same immigrants are taking jobs and sitting around in hotels doing nothing all day.
So, I don't know.
Who do you think will win, Reform, Labour or Green?
I'd say Reform, as much as I don't kind of think it, but yeah, I think I'm going for Green.
Are you going to go for Green?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
This has happened before. I wanted to do a video on it. It was in Wales, immigration, and I was like, okay, this guy is going to say Reform, buffering a lot. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. But a guy was interviewed in Wales outside a cafe or something, and he was talking about immigration, and I was sure, okay, this guy is going to vote for reform. And then he said, yeah, I'm going to vote for Plaid Cymru. It's like, what? In the same case here, this woman saying she's going to vote for the Greens, even though she's concerned about immigration. You know, we can't put people into boxes. These are outliers, I believe, okay? So, you know, most people who are concerned about immigration will vote for reform. But there are people out there who will vote for parties that they're concerned about immigration, but they'll vote for a party that, I don't know. I can't square this circle. Anyway, guys, let's move on to our next story, because I don't want to stay on this too long. Yeah, I wanted to show you this because this is just insane. Try and stick in another few videos before we finish for tonight. Charlie Mullins, you know Charlie Mullins, our old friend Charlie Mullins, the knockout version of Rod Stewart. Well, here he is talking about AI. Yes, he's an expert on AI.
Look, I think it's going to be a case of dirty hands versus clean hands. And if people are not prepared to get their hands dirty, then they're going to be out of work. And I don't really see them having a future, because obviously the AI is going to be doing away with so much that we would normally do manually. And I think now's the time for the UK to start gearing themselves up to cope for people that, you know, AI is going to take their job. I mean, I have to just add this. I know it ain't what a lot of people want to hear, but... No.
I love how he always he starts talking shite, and then he says, hey, you know, I'm going to say something that people don't want to hear. It's like, it's always the case. You're going to say something that people don't want to hear.
Why would someone go to university now knowing in 4 years when they get their degree there won't be a job for them? I mean, why are they not doing an apprenticeship, a skilled trade where we know you're not going to be out of work? Surely we should be directing youngsters now down to that route, you know, come away from clean hands, get dirty hands, and, you know, get a proper manual job. Universities are just a business. All they want is bums on seats.
Okay. So universities are a scam. They just want to make money off people. Maybe there's a little bit of an argument to be made there, yes, in favor of that. But look, when it comes to AI is going to take people's jobs. It's going to go after white-collar jobs first, and then blue-collar or trades people will be replaced later on. But the idea that you should just focus on learning a trade, yeah, but then there'll be nobody left to do anything else. Like, not everyone can learn to become a plumber or electrician or a tiler or a bricklayer. You know, if everyone became a bricklayer, then who would be around to do anything else? There'd be nobody. Unless it's the case, well, everything else would be done by AI. And with the way technology is going, even plumbers would be replaced at some stage. Bums on seats. Who did the bloody Tories? Loans. Yes. Anyway, guys, we're almost at the end. So I want to finish on a positive note. Donald Trump is in a bit of bother. So have a listen to this.
Let's take a look at another president, though. President Donald John Trump. Look at this. I got 4 numbers across for you on this screen here. They are all second-term lows for the given pollster. What are we talking about? AP North, 26 points below water. NBC, 22 points below water. Yahoo YouGov, 20 points below water. Quinnipiac, 19 points below water. So we're ranging from negative 19 points all the way to negative 26 points. You know, Kate, there's this question that folks keep asking, you know, where is the floor for Donald Trump? And I'm not sure there is a floor, because if there is one, Donald Trump, at least in term number 2, has just fallen through it to another low level.
How does this compare with his first term, and how does this compare with Joe Biden?
Okay.
This guy is like the US version of Sam Coates.
So we look at these numbers right here. One of the things that Donald Trump had been arguing, his proponents have been arguing, oh, you know what, he's doing better than he was doing in term number 1. No longer is that the case. What are we talking about here? Okay, net approval rating at this point in the term. Look at this. 22 points below order on average when you average all the pollsters from the last slide. That is actually lower. That is lower than he was at this point in term number one, when he was 17 points below order. So he's doing 5 points worse, and he's doing way worse than Joe Biden was doing at this point in his term number one, when he was 13 points below order. So the bottom line is this: Donald Trump is setting new records for himself in term number two, setting new records for himself compared to where he was at this point in term number one, and he's doing worse than Joe Biden, which is, of course, the comparison that Donald Trump does not want to be, because we all...
Donald Trump doesn't like to be compared to Joe Biden. And then, of course, he will say that CNN is fake news. No, I'm doing really well with everyone. It seems even white males have turned on Donald Trump. Now, Donald Trump's base is white males. So they have abandoned Donald Trump, or he's in serious trouble with them. So I don't know if there's any demographic, apart from maybe billionaires, that are backing Donald Trump. And of course, billionaires, there's not enough of them to go around to prop up Donald Trump at the ballot box. Maybe, for his campaign, he'll be okay. But I think the only fly in the ointment here is that, what if Donald Trump doesn't run again, in the sense that he doesn't go away? What if he, appoints himself president for life? He's looking at Turkey and saying, hey, I want to be like that. I want to be like Erdogan. What if he wants to be like Vladimir Putin? He just manipulates, he puts somebody else in charge to be president, and he's vice president, or he's some sort of unelected official who's pulling the strings behind the scenes. I don't know. It's like we're in such weird territory now. It's possible that Donald Trump will not leave office, that he just cancel the elections. He doesn't really care about the midterms. It's more difficult to cancel the midterms, because if he attempts to cancel the midterms, there would be riots, and it'd be more difficult for him to cancel the presidential election. So he may attempt to cancel the presidential election, but he still has another 2 years to go. But it's really a year and a half, because once we get into 2028, that's when the real test for Donald Trump will be. But it's not looking good at the moment, and he'd need to do something pretty dramatic to turn things around. I keep saying it comes down to the incumbent. It comes down to whether people are happy with Donald Trump. And minus 22, when Joe Biden was minus 13. 2022, what was happening? There was the war in Ukraine had begun. I don't know how that affected Joe Biden. There was also the, COVID was over in a sense. So maybe he got a bit of a boost there. So, but I don't remember Joe Biden ever being really popular. So Donald Trump almost double what, how bad Joe Biden was in 2022. It's interesting. I'm not saying that this means that Donald Trump will be out of office. Of course, if Donald Trump doesn't run, it could be possibly the case that Marco Rubio or J.D. Vance run instead. But I don't think those figures are either popular either. Because once again, it's going to be a case of a vote on the incumbency, the Republican Party. So unless Donald Trump managed to turn things around within the next 2 years, he's in serious trouble, or his party is. And hopefully that's the case. Brad, thanks so much for that super chat just at the end. Mullins makes Fabricant look well groomed. Well said, yes. Thanks for that. Uncle Jojo. Joe Biden seems to have recovered a bit since he was president, which is strange. So guys, I want to say thanks to everyone who came on tonight. Thank you so much to everyone who sent a super chat. Greatly appreciated. Thanks to the moderators for doing a wonderful job. I started doing the post-stream chat, pre-stream chat. So if you're on Friday, if you're on Discord, I'll be on for an hour before the live stream, so do check that out if you can. Before we go, we have our one for the road, so hope you enjoy this before we go.
Welcome to Broken News. Some news just coming into us, and two male celebrities have decided... decided to start a new podcast. The innovative and unexpected move comes after both men realised there was lots of money to be made for very little effort. Our reporter has more.
Thank you. Yes, as you know, the public has been crying out for more audio recordings where a male celebrity talks to another male celebrity, sometimes for 4 shitting hours. In a new podcast called Just Some Famous Guys Doing Some Banter About Being Dads or Something, this pair say they've taken inspiration from the 4 million British men who've also started a podcast chatting unscripted shit with a mate who's slightly off mic. The pair also said they were looking forward to sucking up that sweet ad revenue dollar from people who are actually making good stuff but don't have a massive marketing budget. There has been some criticism, as some experts have claimed that podcasts should be more than just 2 mates dicking around while their management company pays for them to hoover up industry awards. But despite some pushback against the podcast format, supporters say it gives the opportunity for wildly different and diverse political thought, such as the centrist Ed Balls speaking to the centrist George Osborne, or the centrist Rory Stewart speaking to the centrist Alistair Campbell. And you can hear more about that in our new podcast, The Rest is Podcasts, which is out now. Back to you.
Thank you. That's all from Broken News, isn't it?
Is it? I wish she wasn't, but there we go.
You're up to date now.
Your mum's up to date.
This podcast was brought to you by Squarespace.
No, great site to be fair.
Yeah, your mum's a great website.
Oh my goodness, it's true. It's funny because it's true. So guys, have a great week. I will see you on Friday, same bad time, same bad channel. Stay safe, take care, and good night.